And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. So now what? Let's talk about the things you want to talk about. So much for path of least resistance.
But I'm ready to be ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. Thank you so much. I saw you last weekend, and I've been saying that all week. I'm ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. I'm so excited to be here. So I've been a huge fan of yours for a really long time, and I do your processes every day. And I don't want to put any engines on the wrong end of my train right now. I know you know what I'm talking about. I've been experiencing contrast, pretty strong contrast, and I've been doing a lot of processes to release it. It's a physical condition. And I'm hoping you can help me ferret out the contradictory beliefs that are causing that that pulling in the opposite direction.
Well, it's helpful that you acknowledge that there must be some contradictory beliefs, and it's a little bit the long way around it. In other words, we're playing with you, not taking the path of least resistance to come up here. And while you are all a little tired of hearing this from us today, almost everything you do short of getting into alignment is a longer way around it than it needs to be. One time, many years ago, Jerry and Esther were driving in Orlando, and they were driving their tow car, and it had a navigational system in it, and it was a new navigational system. They're all pretty much alike with some variances. And so Esther got on the freeway and drove a little bit, and then Jerry, with that wonderful non-condemning tone in his voice and that silly grin on his face, soon said, "You do know that you're going in exactly the wrong direction of where you need to be going." Well, Esther didn't know, because she had no sense of where she was or where she was going. She was completely trusting the navigational system, and she was certain that she had done exactly what it had told her to do. And Jerry said, "Well, that may be true, but nevertheless, we are going in the opposite direction of where we really want to go." And so Esther just couldn't understand how that could have happened. "I programmed it correctly," she said. "I did exactly what it said to do, turn by turn." And then she said to Jerry something that she thought was just brilliant. "Let's go back to where we started and do it again, so that I can see what it did wrong or what I did wrong. Let's see if we can figure." And Jerry said, "Or we could just start where we are and go to where we want to be."
Yes.
There's something very important in there, because there's a part of you that would rather be right than feel good. And beliefs that you hold, you didn't get to most of them all that easily. You kind of clawed and scraped and scrapped your way to the right things that you believe. And so in many cases, it's like having a debate with someone who really believes something different than what you believe. And the more you talk, the more you each dig into your positions. And you do that with yourself. So it really doesn't matter what the belief is that's hindering, or when you picked it up, or how long you've been carrying it around. It's just helpful to know that it's there and that you would like to release it. So now we want to go back to something that is more basic, and that is when you are allowing yourself to really be in concert with your inner being, all of the cells of your body receive the benefit of an open flow, because all of your valves are wide open, all of your circuits are wide open, so that source energy can just go to all of the places that the cells are asking. So if there's something going on with your physical body, it is asking on a cellular level. And if you can accept that your cells are asking and that you really don't have the answer, your cells are asking, source has the answer, but you really don't have the answer. So why not get your head out of the game for a little bit and just get into that place where you're ready to be ready to be ready. And many times We're not saying that there may not be an inspiration that you would rendezvous with someone who in a physical sense has a remedy for you that would help you to move faster to what you're wanting. We're not for a moment saying that we want you to just meditate and then do nothing. What we're saying is we want you to meditate so that you can be inspired to the action or activity that is most productive to what you are wanting, because you want many, many things, you see. So did we do a good job of talking you out of needing to know what the contradictory beliefs are?
Yes, that was helpful.
You know what the biggest contradictory belief is? I'm not where I want to be. And you might say, well, what's contradictory about that? It's true. Well, we didn't say it wasn't true. We just said it's contradictory to what you want. But it's true. But it's still contradictory to what you want. So taking score of where you are is the biggest contradiction to wanting to be someplace else. Don't you like knowing that? So then you worry because there's those people in your world that have said, oh, so you're just going to put your head in the sand and you're just going to ignore, and it's going to get bigger while you ignore it. No, it's going to get bigger while you give your undivided attention to it, you see.
Yes, you know, you've said your inner being never looks back. So when I start going there, I just try to remind myself, my inner being is looking forward. My inner being is looking forward. Stop.
And your inner being knows what you want.
And so stop trying to think that. I do so many of the processes, and
we know, but in the sense, we've been trying to talk you out of ever buying that book again. Esther just went a little berserk in her own mind. But you can get into sort of a rut where sometimes the processes that you do just shore up beliefs that are not helpful. You've got to pay attention to how you're feeling. And so a good way, and we've said this even in that book, if the process isn't giving you relief right away, discontinue it and do something else. But to keep doing it and then continuing to feel frustration over the lack of movement that you're looking for, then this process, for whatever reason, is not working. And there's no point in trying to define why it's not working. Just keep feeling around until you find something that helps you to feel better.
Yes, and I've done that, and I can feel when a process is going to smack me in the face. I go, this.
So now, what's your question? Since
my question is
such a wonderful answer.
My question is there any information that you can give me to help me release it? I've done a lot, and I'm
yes.
I think I'm going.
We have something really good for you. Yes. Stop it!
I know. It's like that Bob Newhart. If you've ever seen the Bob Newhart clip, he's the psychiatrist and just keeps yelling, stop
We wrote
it.
that piece.
Did you write that bit? It was very good. It was very good.
It's interesting to visit with you because we know that you have heard everything that we've said today, and we know that you are where you are, and still you're doing what so many do. You're saying, give me something. Rather than going back here and finding it myself, Abraham, I'd like you to jump in about right here and give me something that'll shift the way I believe. And we say, you kind of got to go find it. And so,
okay, can I talk about something that I've used that's gone very well in my life with your process? Just share it a little bit.
She didn't wait for an answer.
Oh, sorry. I'll wait for an answer.
Oh, we're just playing with you.
Okay. Okay. When I first read your book, Ask and It's Given, 11 years ago, and started doing the processes and writing what I wanted in a job, I needed a job, and it was a very general thing that I was writing. I didn't have anything specific in mind. And I would just write, I work with wonderful people, and it's an interesting environment, and I do creative things. And about 3 months later, I get a call, and I'm working for a temp agency. And they called and they said, well, how would you like to work for Kirk Douglas's wife for like 2 weeks filing? And I said, that sounds really fun to me. So I went in, and I was supposed to just be there for 2 weeks filing. And a couple weeks later, his wife, I was literally filing, loving it. There were pictures from every movie he's ever made. I'm a big film buff. And she said, I want to get you off your knees and give you a real job. I was on my knees filing. And since then, I've worked with the foundation, helped to give away millions of dollars. It's been the time of my life. So thank you so much.
So that's a wonderful thing. And so something that is very helpful is when you are all the way over here in such satisfaction, to identify what the components were that brought that about. Now let's retrace what you were saying. What did you originally say?
I was very general.
But you said something else.
I would write, and I was very general and just described it.
I wasn't all caught up in it. I hadn't been practicing the frustration of not having a job. So go back to that and tell us a little more, if you can, of how you were feeling as you were getting ready to get ready.
It was just very general feeling. It felt good. There was no big one thing that I had specifically that I needed.
So there you were. And what kind of things did you begin writing?
I'm surrounded by interesting people. I like what I do.
And can you feel how in her generality she was not pushing against anything? And all of those things were already in the vortex, and your inner being already knew that that was out there for you if you could find your way to it. And so can you recall even more?
I definitely said, like, it follows my natural rhythms, during the day. Working, and it follows my natural rhythms, and I get to do a variety of things.
And so you didn't get so specific that you shot yourself in the foot in any way.
Right.
You were general enough, and it felt good while you were doing it. Now here's a big piece of this question. Did you feel any frustration? Did you feel any urgency? Were you trying to overcome anything?
Not at the time, yeah.
Not at the time.
Yeah.
Not about that. Isn't it perfectly logical from what you know that she could get there from there? Because there just wasn't anything junking up the trail. And so that is the path of least resistance to anything that feels like a dilemma or a solution that you're looking for. If you can recall situations where you know you moved from a place of not having to a place of having something that you want, and you identify, most important, not what you did, but how you felt as you were moving along. Wouldn't you say that there was not any angst in your vibration about that?
There was no angst. It gets even better. When I was 17 years old, I was living in another state, Illinois, and my friend said, let's move to LA, and our parents drove us out just for a vacation, and they got us out in Hollywood, and we went, oh, I don't think we could live here. It was very scary to us. And then they drove us to Beverly Hills, and we got out right in front of Rodeo Drive, and I said, oh, I could live here. And I was 17 at the time. I literally work feet from that. I work mere feet from where I stood there, and I said that.
And so do you all accept that the things that you want are pulsing in a very powerful way in your vortex? And can you hear from her story how she just didn't do anything to mess that up, and so it unfolded? But now you have a question. I've got something that I'm not doing that about. So how can I get there? And we say the same way that you got there, which begs the question, but there was nothing that was already messing it up. So it was easy not to put it in because it wasn't there. But now there's something that's messing it up. How do I not put it in? And that's when we say those processes may not be deep enough for you because they're just causing you to continue that you feel a little better and then you don't. You feel a little better and then you don't. You feel a little better and then you don't. You got to go deeper. That's all. It's so simple. You got to go to the place. You've got to go, and frequently. We're talking about 15 or 20 minutes a day for a week or 2 or 3. You got to go to that place where you're having no thought whatsoever about that. You got to bring yourself to the place of really non-attachment and non-risk and non-worry and non-fretting that you were when this other thing unfolded in such an incredibly magnificent way. Because everything can do it like that. You just got to retrace those steps. How do you become a non-thinker about something? You got to practice not thinking. How do you become a non-negative believer in something? Well, you could replace it with positive beliefs, but that's not easy to do. Because every time you take a negative belief and you try to replace it with a positive belief, the negative belief stands there in sort of resistance to the positive belief. It's law of attraction saying you've picked up this stick and you're on this end of it, and we know you want to be on this end of it, but you are on this stick, and this stick has a habit of vibrating in you. And so when you pick up this stick, it's going to vibrate right where you're used to vibrating. You say, oh no, I've got a book of processes. I'll do the processes, and they help a little bit, and some of them help more than others. In fact, each one of them is defined to tell you if this is the emotion you're mostly feeling, then this is a process that will probably help you to go deep enough. In other words, those processes are well thought out, but today we're telling you why they work or why they don't work. And so do you want to pick up that stick and then have to overcome the belief of activation that you've had going for a while? Or do you want to just leave that stick to be dormant while you find vibrational alignment with who you really are and let your inner being show you a path of less resistance? Really good.
Really good. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.